The Gospel of the Birth of Mary, Part 2, Chapter 4. Afterwards the angel appeared to Anna his wife, saying, "Fear not, neither think that which you see is a spirit. For I am that angel who has offered up your prayers and alms before God, and am now sent to you that I may inform you that a daughter will be born unto you, who shall be called Mary, and shall be blessed above all women. Immediately upon her birth she will be full of grace of the Lord, and will continue in her father's house during the 3 years of her weaning, and afterwards, being devoted to the service of the Lord, will not depart from the temple till she arrives to years of discretion. In a word, she will be there to serve the Lord night and day, in fasting and prayer, and abstain from every unclean thing, and never know any man. But being an unparalleled instance without any pollution or defilement, and a virgin not knowing any man, will bring forth a son, and a maid shall bring forth the Lord, who both by his grace and name and works shall be the Savior of the world. Arise therefore, and go up to Jerusalem, and when you shall come to that which is called the Golden Gate, because it is gilt with gold, as a sign of what I have told you, you will meet your husband, for whose safety you have been so much concerned. When therefore you find these things thus accomplished, believe that all the rest which I have told you shall also undoubtedly be accomplished." Chapter 5. According therefore to the command of the angel, both of them left the places where they were, and when they came to the place specified in the angel's prediction, they met each other. Then, rejoicing at each other's vision, and being fully satisfied in the promise of a child, they gave due thanks to the Lord, who exalts the humble. And having praised the Lord, they returned home, and lived in a cheerful and assured expectation of the promise of God. So Anna conceived and brought forth a daughter, and according to the angel's command, the parents called her name Mary. And when the 3 years were expired, and the time of her weaning complete, they brought the virgin to the temple of the Lord with their offerings. And there were about the temple, according to the 15 psalms of degrees, 15 stairs to ascend. For the temple was built in a mountain, and the altar of burnt offering outside, and could not be come near but by stairs. The parents of the Blessed Virgin and Infant Mary put her upon one of these stairs. But while they were putting off their clothes in which they had traveled, according to the custom, putting on some that were more neat and clean. In the meantime, without the help of any to lead or lift her, the Virgin of the Lord went up all the stairs one after another, in such a manner that anyone would have judged that she was of perfect age. Thus the Lord did, in the infancy of his Virgin, work this extraordinary work, and evidenced by this miracle how great she was to be hereafter. But having offered up their sacrifice according to the custom of the law, and having perfected their vow, the parents returned home after leaving the Virgin with other virgins, who were to be brought up in the apartments of the temple. Chapter 7. But the Virgin of the Lord, as she advanced in years, increased also in perfections, and according to the sayings of the psalmist, her father and mother forsook her, but the Lord took care of her. For she every day had the conversation of angels, and every day received visitors from God, which preserved her from all sorts of evil, and caused her to abound with all good things. So that when at length she arrived at her 14th year, as the wicked could not lay anything to her charge worthy of reproof, so all good persons acquainted with her admired her life and conversation. At that time the high priest made a public order that all the virgins who had public settlements in the temple and were come to this age should return home, and as they were now of a proper maturity, should endeavor to be married according to the custom of their country. Though all the other virgins readily yielded obedience to the command, Mary, the Virgin of the Lord alone, answered that she could not comply with it, assigning the reasons that both she and her parents had devoted her to the service of the Lord, and besides that she had vowed virginity to the Lord, which vow she was resolved never to break by laying with a man. The high priest thereby being brought into a difficulty, seeing he dared neither on the one hand dissolve the vow and disobey the Scriptures, which says, "Vow and pay," nor on the other hand introduce a custom to which the people were strangers, commanded that at the approaching feast all the principal persons both of Jerusalem and the neighboring places should meet together, that he might have their advice how he had best proceed in so difficult a case. When they were accordingly met, they unanimously agreed to seek the Lord and ask counsel from him on this matter. And when they were all engaged in prayer, the high priest, according to the usual way, went to consult God. And immediately there was a voice from the ark and the mercy seat, which all present heard, that it must be inquired or sought out by a prophecy of Isaiah, to whom the virgin should be given and be betrothed. For Isaiah says, "There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a flower shall spring out of its root. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and piety, and the Spirit of the fear of the Lord shall fill him." Then according to this prophecy he appointed that all the men of the house and the family of David, who were marriageable and not married, should each bring their rods to the altar, and out of whatsoever person's rod after it was brought a flower should bud forth, and on the top of it the Spirit of the Lord should sit in the appearance of a dove. He should be the man to whom the virgin should be given and be betrothed. Chapter 8. Among the rest there was a man named Joseph, of the house and family of David, and a person very far advanced in years, who drew back his rod when everyone else presented his, so that when nothing appeared agreeable to the heavenly voice, the high priest judged it proper to consult God again, who answered that he to whom the virgin was to be betrothed was the only person of those who were brought together who had not brought his rod. Joseph was therefore betrayed, for when he did bring his rod, as a dove came from heaven and perched upon the top of it, everyone plainly saw that the virgin was to be betrothed to him. Accordingly, the usual ceremonies of betrothal being over, he returned to his own city of Bethlehem to set his house in order and make the needful provisions for the marriage. But when the Virgin of the Lord Mary, with 7 other virgins of the same age, who had been weaned at the same time, and who had been appointed by the priest to attend her, returned to her parents' house in Galilee.